to talk about the efforts in planting seedlings from disease-resistant trees. And so then we looked at mapping and naming. If you could go to the next page, Michelle. And mapping with little kids, if you think of maps are very abstract for young children. And so I was hoping that at least students would be able to learn the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, and that they would know some reservation landmarks in those directions from where their school is. And so I used a lot of wonderful photographs from my late friend Jake Wallace and from Eugene Beckus, who was always out taking photographs. So again, some local resources, and then Creative Commons. Then at the high school level, students learn about contemporary land status through examining maps, doing kind of an inquiry lesson, and then actually reading through the Hellgate Treaty and the Flathead Allotment Act. And so I want to give a shout out to Pete Gillard, because every time I needed a specific kind of map, he was that day or the next day. And so if I wanted watersheds, if I wanted conservation areas, whatever kind of map I needed, he was very responsive and supportive. So you folks have a great number of people working for you and supporting this kind of work. And then naming, I had the support of both culture committees. And so students start at the elementary level with just the name of their town, how it got that name, although Dayton, Elmo, and Big Arm, I'm unsure, so they might have to do some research on their own. And then our names, the Salish and Kootenai names for places. And then when they get to the high school level, they really look at the politics of naming. Who gets to name a place? How are places named? Who has that authority? And then we do kind of an exploration of House Bill 412, where they look at names that have been changed. So Squaw Peak changed to Chepachin, Mount Harding changed to Klauken. And so it was really wonderful. The culture committees helped me with spellings. You know, spellings are evolving and translations, and so they helped me and they reviewed those. So Dorothy and Cheney really stepped forward and helped me to do that. So, you know, it's kind of a quick deep dive into where we live, and I'm hoping that it might inspire teachers to look at where they live as the content. You know, that you don't have to go far. You don't have to take a field trip off the reservation. Really, everything is here. So I learned some new things in doing it, and it was enjoyable, and I really appreciated the opportunity Michelle gave me to create a new document, a new curriculum for our community. So there's 144 individual files that go with this PDF that is just the lesson plans. So those 144 individual files are content sources. So when a teacher does, you know, the series of days activities, they don't have to look around, they don't have to do research, you know, all of those, the treaty, the Flathead Allotment Act, photographs, content sources on bison, all of that stuff is either a link to a live online document or it's a PDF. So it's self-contained. The other thing that Michelle did is she purchased books. So field guides, you know, for plants and trees, all of those things, storybooks for younger children. She purchased all those books, and our little press, Impustine, gave 10 of the Bitterroot books and 10 of the Huckleberry Celebrations and Buttercups books that Jennifer wrote. We donated 20 books for the little kids. So teachers are getting a lovely gift in just the resources, in the content files, and the books that Michelle purchased, even some art resources, materials. So, you know, they don't have to follow my lead in everything that I said. They could use the content resources and come up with their own. Then they're encouraged to do so. So it was about a 3 to 4 month, it is going into 4 months now, project, but it was a lot of reward for me to do something, again, looking at our own community. So I hope that teachers use it. because it's self-contained, I'm hoping that that will encourage them. We made it as convenient as possible. And Michelle's staff, her staff that work with the parent committees, they'll do an orientation with folks at the schools that they serve to encourage them to use it. It will be in a trunk, but it will also find its home online. And so that online resource, you know, teachers are going to lose the book or they'll fight over the one book they get, hopefully. Or, you know, it'll be on a flash drive, and we know they'll probably lose a flash drive. So Michelle is creating an online portal for that, with the name Exploring Home. That's the title that I gave it. So I had a lot of fun doing it. I think kids would have fun doing it. There are a lot of lessons that encourage them to invite folks from forestry or folks from the bison range and tribal council. You know, they do signs with place names for their town where they live. They create murals. And so and Tribal Ed, I encourage them to invite kids to see what they're learning. And when they produce these infographics and murals and place name signs, that they invite community. I also encourage them to present them to their city officials when they do their place name signs. So I don't know if they will. I would hope so. We know that when students have a public audience, the quality of their work goes up exponentially. So that's it quickly in a nutshell. I know you guys are busy. If you have a question, I am happy to answer it.
Question for Julie? It looks like a great resource. Man, I would just hope that it wasn't like an optional thing, that it would be a mandated thing. But Jennifer.
Thanks, Chairman McDonald. Julie, you're so amazing. You do all these amazing projects for our community. You and your work are such an asset to all of us and to every student who gets exposed to your work. So I'm just always amazed at what you do. It's just another one of your amazing projects that you add to us. So thank you for that. And I really hope that someday, you know, projects like this can be combined and added to a tribal civics program that we can develop, that you can develop, that we can support, because I think that's really important to preserve this information. So tribal students have a curriculum that teaches them who they are as tribal citizens and what their responsibilities are and what their rights are. And I think you would be the perfect person to develop that. So my sincere hope is that for our future, for all of us, that somehow you can develop a curriculum on tribal civics for all of us. So thank you, Julie, for this amazing project.
Thank you. And I want to thank Michelle for giving me the privilege to do it and keeping me employed through the pandemic. As I'm sitting here at my kitchen table, imagining how you teach a 5 or 6 year old what north, south, east, and west is. So it made me go back into a deep dive into being a teacher, and that was actually a lot of fun for me. So, Lemlemch, Pesia, Suketh Kukani.
Carol.
Yeah, what's exciting for me is it's two tribal members coming together to do something exciting, and then to hear Jen talk about, you know, the civics class and putting that together. I just think it's something that's been a long time needed for all of us, including me. You know, I'm working with this Patricia Jolly on some Smithsonian. She's trying to access some of our people within the government to assist them with Smithsonian and Native American Museum items and other content. And so I was just so surprised, you know, that everybody that jumped in and said something sound like they were interested. So it's really good that we have another tribal member, and you guys will probably all be involved in that too. And certainly I take a back seat to any of you guys, but thank you so much for offering this to all of our people, because it's so helpful. Oh, I think the main thing I was going to mention is Patricia Jolly talked about a weir on the Jocko River, and I'm sure the council all knows about it, but I didn't know that they used weirs in the Jocko River, duh. But she, you know, she educated me to something and I just thought, well, that is cool and I want to know more about it. So anyway, thank you. Thank you, Julie and Michelle and Jennifer.
The last thing I want to say to all of you is that I think that in doing this and in working with folks that work in tribal government and in looking at all the materials and resources, you know, it reminds me of the agency of our people, you know, not just at this point in time, but historically. And I think that's an important story to be told to young people, that we have went through a lot, and while we've suffered loss, our leaders from the beginning of time have been remarkable and brilliant, and their agency and decision making is why we're here today. And I think that's an important story. You know, when I look at the tribal wilderness and I look at the tribe's conservation record, and then our political record. I was talking with Dan Decker about, well, we were talking about a bunch of things, but he talked about a conversation with Mickey Pablo when they were first crafting the language to get management of the bison range, you know, and that was in the 80s. And then, you know, self-governance. Mickey Pablo was, you know, talking about self-governance and the fact that we are a tribe that compacts all our program. I think kids need to know that. I think kind of we take it for granted. And I appreciate the competence and the wealth of resources that are just within the tribal organization to tell this story. So Lem Lumch, thank you again.
Julie. I think Michelle, that was another good segue into talking about a good civics curriculum that is pretty comprehensive and that would be utilized by our youth of our tribe and the larger community. So that's maybe that's another work product you have.
Yes,
Under your
definitely.
seat to work on.
I would love to do it. I want to do it.
Yes.
I think create a model for other tribes also to do it.
I really, education is such a powerful tool, and it's knowledge is power, and you learn from your experiences in your past to go forward. And so I've always been a big component, a big supporter of anything we do with youth and educating our youth and bringing these programs like the river honoring and other things that we've done, all the different curriculums that we've created through NRD to bring to the schools. So indeed, I would, as one council member, I would certainly be supportive of a civics program, but what I really get worried about is not having school administrators at different schools on the reservation, opt out of things. And I get worried about, the trend now to try to recreate history and, not tell the true story or and so I think if anything, we need to push forward with even more information to counter the assault that's going on right now. And we see it locally. So I just encourage you to, Michelle, to be forward thinking and have creative projects. More like this is fantastic. So thank you both.
Okay. Definitely in the works.
Okay. Jennifer?
Thank you, Chairman McDonald. Yes. So Julie and Michelle, I think you guys are a really great team. And, in thinking about a tribal civics program, my dream as, and not just as a councilwoman, but also just as a tribal member and as a mother, I want to see tribal members being proud of who they are and knowing, I think every tribal member should know that they come from intelligent, beautiful, good people. Everyone should feel that way. Everyone should feel proud of who they come from and where they come from. And a tribal civics curriculum could teach them that. And knowing how to assert their rights, I think that's really important. And knowing that as a tribal member, that it means something and what does that mean? And that we have really serious responsibilities. I just think it's such an important project, and it's something that should be owned by us and created by us. And I think that's the only way that the truth is going to get told about our history. So thank you guys so much for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anita?
Yeah, thank you both, and Julie and Michelle. It's always good to see you. I just wanted to say, I'm happy that they're working on this project and it's going into the schools. Growing up where I did in St. Ignatius, I never read the treaty until I started working for the tribe. All that history is set there for over 100 years, and it needs to be taught to our children. So I'm really proud to be a part of this and proud of you guys for bringing it forward and keeping it going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Michelle?
Yes, if there are no more questions, I request permission we have a press release that we would like to release to the public to acknowledge and to announce the availability of this curriculum.
All right, is it the consensus of the council to concur with Michelle's press release? I believe absolutely. Yes, council's shaking their head. Yes, wonderful. Good way to start out this spring. We're coming into broader daylight. So
Better
Thank
day.
you.
thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is Natural Resource Department, but we might take a quick 5-minute break and then we'll have Lynn and Craig on. 5 minutes.